How are things, man? What's the word? What's the vibes? What's new?
Doing well, bro. What can I call combo? Is that what I can call you?
You know me, Skap. You know me. You know me.
Great,
I
great
know
to
people.
great to
Go ahead.
great to be a guest. Thank you so much for extending the invitation and looking forward to talking hoops with you today.
Most definitely. Lakers. LeBron out with sciatica. Should Lakers fans be concerned?
Well, I think they should be more concerned when he gets back on the court because the dude laid down a minus 54 plus minus last year. That is 20th best on his own squad. He actually had one of the worst when he was in the lineup last year. They had one of the worst plus like their per 100 rate was one of the worst in their entire lineup configurations last year with all of the options. So, I mean, look, we know what this guy's going to do, Combo. He's going to put up those stats. He's going to put the numbers. He's going to chase an all-NBA team designation. He's going to play no defense, and he's not going to promote winning.
How do you like the Luka LeBron fit?
I did not like it. When they got the acquisition, made the transaction with Dallas, I was secretly giddy as a guy who is known as like an anti-LeBron guy.
Let me stop you. Do you feel like you're anti-LeBron?
I would say, so when people ask if I'm like a pessimist or an optimist, I just say I'm a realist. I don't hate LeBron. I just give the energy about him based on the things that I've seen throughout the course of his career. So I have been painted a LeBron hater because I feel like I just kind of accurately depict his career the way that it actually has gone.
Bronny's ceiling. You're watching him play some preseason games here. How you feeling about his game? And what's the best case scenario for Bronny James?
I mean, best case scenario would be like maybe a consistent bench contributor, like a 3-and-D kind of guy. He could come off the bench, get you, maybe 7, 8 points per night, and also like defend at a high level. Probably ones and twos. That would probably be, to me the high end estimate or the hope for what Bronny James might become at some point. But he's got to be an elite defender in order to make that happen. And look, he's got a lot of good look from these games I've seen. He gets good looks from three. He's got to start knocking these down. He's got to shoot like upper 30 percentile range if this is going to be like a consistent role for him moving forward in the actual NBA.
It's interesting. You mentioned the optimist, you mentioned the pessimist side of you. So I can give you some optimism that it's not easy to get good looks up in the NBA. Like, I guess that is a skill. But you mentioned 3-and-D, and 3-and-D at his size is a lot to ask for on the other side.
That's true. And if you remember, he was listed a little higher. I think he was listed at 6'4" when he was in like a junior in high school already. He was listed at 6'4". When he actually got measured in at the combine, he was like 6'2". So that was one of the big surprises was that he was measuring in like a good 2 inches less. And they at the combine they measure you in your shoes. So if he's 6'2", like in shoes, like what is this guy, like 6'1.5", 6'1"? So I absolutely agree with your point there, and I think that for that is one of the many reasons why I think it was a pretty optimistic grab when the Lakers drafted him. But we know that he was drafted for ulterior motives than his actual play.
DeAndre Ayton, how are you feeling about the fit? I think it's a great fit. I mean, he could catch a lob, which is really important with Luka and LeBron. He plays defense. I mean, he might not have the Mamba mentality like you would like to see him have, Skap, but it got to be a great fit, and it's really going to help them this year.
Agreed. I mean, it absolutely cannot be any worse than what it was last year. Like they had in the postseason, JJ Redick just thought, I think it was Jackson Hayes was the only center that they actually had in the rotation by the time the playoffs started. He didn't even play for the majority of the postseason games against the Timberwolves. I think one game he played like a minute and that was it. And that was the game that Rudy Gobert looked like damn Wilt Chamberlain out there. He had like 26 points, 20 rebounds. They just could not keep Minnesota off the glass. I think the Timberwolves shot like 53s in that game, and they missed the vast majority of them, but they just were pounding the offensive glass. So I think, look, Ayton, a lot of people talk trash on him and like what his career has been to this point. And I get it. He was a number one. He was like I think he was the top pick in the draft. So like he hasn't lived up to the potential of what it was expected that he was going to become. But the guy he's a a valid 7-foot center in the NBA. He is a professional center, which the Lakers didn't have last year. And at the very least, like you said, the guy's going to be able to catch lobs. He's going to be, I think, an asset defensively in protecting the basket. And Luka, look, once Luka and him get like that kind of consistency with playing with each other and stuff, I think Luka's going to make this guy probably like a 14 and 11 per night kind of guy.
Men's health, Luka, how you feeling about him? Slimmed down a little bit. Look, Luka was always great, by the way, right? Like when he was a little chubby, he was great. We saw skinny Luka already with the EuroLeague, being the EuroLeague MVP at 19. Do you think he's going to even get to new heights with it? I mean, he's been like 30, 10, and 10 his whole career, you know?
Yeah, I think he's got the third highest scoring average in NBA history per game behind only Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain. That's it. And he's one of only 2 players in NBA playoff history to score at least 30 points per game. Him and Jordan, that's it. So, I mean, he's been first team All-NBA every year of his career other than his rookie year and last season, because he only played 50 games last season. He didn't qualify. So, like, this guy is already, you can make the case, like, in his peak that we've seen, he's like a top 10 to 15 player already. But just peak for peak, you know what I'm saying? But I think he is going to reach new heights this year. I think he's in the best shape he's ever been in his adult life. Obviously, when he was 16, 17 years old, he was lighter and you know, skinny. But now I think in his adult life, this is the best shape he's been in. And bro, he tore it up in the Eurobasket. Tore it up. Like, he averaged 35 points per game in 7 games. Giannis was second in that tournament at like 27 per game, and then nobody else over 25 points a night in that tournament. Luka's running around there dropping 35 and like 8 and 8 as well in only 40 minutes. They only play 40 minutes compared to 48 in the NBA. I think this could be, like I said, he's been first team All-NBA 5 times already. I think he's going to be even better. I mean, it's hard for him to get, he's going to be first team, I think, this year. He's probably going to be top 3 in MVP by season end, but I think sky's the limit for skinny Luka this year.
It's his team at this point, right? Or is it still LeBron's team?
100%. I think even LeBron accepts that it is. I like deep down in the back of his mind, I think LeBron understands. Obviously the organization is building around Luka. New ownership there is making their future with him, thinking about him in mind, not LeBron. But even like tangible, like basketball on court production and stuff and leadership, I think everybody knows this is Luka's shown.
You know, Knicks fans are going at me because I was saying that there's a possibility Jalen Brunson could get traded for Giannis in a 3-team deal. And I feel like in this NBA could really have, if you could trade Luka Doncic, nobody is untouchable in this league.
I agree. And just look, obviously, if you're the Knicks, like the goal would be anybody but Brunson, essentially, like keep Brunson and pair him with Giannis. But
is that a good fit though, Skap? 2 engines.
Honestly,
because let me, like, I think it'd be better if you get Giannis with the 3-and-D they have and, you know, maybe some other guards than just having 2 engines that likes the ball, because Brunson doesn't really space it. Giannis doesn't really space it. You know, I don't love that fit. It didn't work with Dame and Giannis, you know?
That's fair. I agree with you. I do not like the Brunson Giannis fit either. And with Giannis, like you said, you want to build essentially, like, you want to build a good core defense around Giannis. And Brunson obviously doesn't meet those criteria. And like you said, I just don't. Giannis is kind of he's not obviously not a spacer. He's not going to knock down open like outside shots or anything like that. And Brunson has high usage, so you're kind of limiting some of what Giannis is, you know, like what kind of an effect and impact he can have. So I totally agree with you. It's not a great fit, but you know the Knicks, you know their plan would be to try to pair those 2 stars together.
Yes.
But gun to my head, you don't even have to put a gun to my head. I would 100% take Giannis over Brunson. I mean, I think very highly of Giannis. There's really only 1 or 2 players league-wide that I would want to build my team over the next 5 years with other than Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I would take him for sure over Brunson.
So if you had to look into your crystal ball, where would Giannis land?
You know, it's really bizarre, these international players. They have, for whatever reason, they have like a much higher sense of loyalty and honor towards one team and one franchise. They really don't want to leave. Like Luka Doncic was devastated, it looked like, for weeks after Dallas traded him. Like, I think Nikola Jokic, like they have still not put a single all-star around that guy in 10 years. He just wants to be a Nugget for life. And for whatever reason, if I were Giannis after that sinking ship that's been the last like 2 seasons, I would be writing letters demanding anything. I would be asking everyone, including like Santa Claus, to get me the hell out of town. And for whatever reason, Giannis just wants to stay in Milwaukee. So I think he's going to give them every opportunity to try to keep him or try to show him anything, build any semblance of a team around him to make him feel confident about staying there. So quite frankly, I think I would give, with all teams, looking in the crystal ball, if I looked at every team in the NBA, I would say Milwaukee is probably the favorite to retain his services. But
really?
if there's one franchise that I think that he could go to, if it's not Milwaukee, I think you might be onto something here. I think New York would be the team I would pick.
You mentioned Jokic. It's fair to say no matter who wins the most valuable player award, he's the most valuable player every single year.
Nikola Jokic is one of the most interesting and probably just a unique player I've ever seen. You know, I've been watching the NBA product for over 30 years, and I'm a big Nikola Jokic fan, and I don't like much about this current era that we're in. And when I started watching Jokic back around his second MVP, I was critical. I was watching him as like a hater, because I was trying to find things to pick apart of his, or things that I didn't like, or things that I could tear down. I thought, you know, with the back-to-back MVPs, I was thinking this guy is just monstrously overrated, or on the pathway to becoming monstrously overrated. The more I watched him, though, as a hater, through the lens of being a hater, the more and more I fell in love with his guy's game and his abilities. I'm going to make a pretty bold statement here. He's not the greatest player ever, but to me, he is the most valuable player I've ever seen play basketball. He is such a floor riser. You can put any 4 guys around him, or any 9 guys, or 1 through 9, and they're gonna win nearly 50 games, and they're gonna be able to compete in a 7-game series against anybody.
He doesn't remind you of anybody. I'm thinking like Arvydas Sabonis and Bill Walton a little bit, but he does a little bit more off the dribble in transition in terms of his passing. Like, he's literally the greatest passer to ever live. I don't know. Maybe. Could be.
You can make that claim. And the guy, he brings, if he's not making an absurd outlet pass, which would be like kind of Walton-esque or whatever, or maybe even Arvydas, but if he's not making some ridiculous outlet that's leading directly to some kind of a layup on the fast break, he'll take the ball down from the glass and take it like coast to coast at 7 feet, like 275 pounds, and like either nimbly finish at the rim himself or get somebody else like a great look. And when you look at how elite of a passer he is, he's like top 5 in rebounding every year, so he's controlling the glass in that regard, and quite frankly, he can average 30 a night if he wants to. If you look at what he does in the postseason, oftentimes he's scoring more in the postseason. Like, you would expect statistical averages to be plushed up over the course of an 82-game regular season, where like you're playing scrub teams, you're on like back-to-backs, but he does more work scoring oftentimes in the harder confines of the playoffs against better defensive teams that are more dug in, when half-court scoring is more than the transition game. So, I mean, the guy is just an incredible player. He should have been MVP 5 straight years.
Totally agree. How do you feel about their offseason? I think they had the best offseason, in my opinion. Cam Johnson's there. Michael Porter Jr. was a swap. You bring in Bruce Brown back. That's always good for the vibes. You got a backup center now. I believe they had the best offseason, and I don't really see OKC repeating. I think the Nuggets might make it this year. I think it's going to be them and the Knicks, if I had to look at my crystal ball.
They had an amazing offseason, and I've been highly critical of the Denver Nuggets front office for like 2-3 years, because not only are they're basically, when they won the title, they're not only are they not just standing pat and holding their players, like I would expect they do something to improve the roster or get better. They didn't do that. They didn't even keep the players that they had. They got younger and worse, and they basically, I don't even think, for the last 2 seasons, I don't think the Nuggets had a viable chance to win the championship. Like, Jokic got you into 2 7-game series, into the 7th game against 2 superior teams in the second round in back-to-back years. This year, for the first time in 3 years, I think they do they have a legitimate chance. They are a legit contender. I think the only team I believe that could stand in their way would be the Thunder, and that is me just assuming that the Thunder are going to be better than what they were last year. They were already the best team last year, but they were still very young. I think every one of their contributors in 1 through 10 was like 26 or under last season. So,
Yeah.
and even like look at Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. Like Chet missed a large chunk of the year. Was he completely healthy even and recovered going into the playoffs? And Jalen Williams, he was All NBA third team and All NBA defense second team. He's only like 23 years old, so he's probably going to be like ascending a bit this year. They get Nikola Topic, who didn't play at all last season after they drafted him. He looked great in the preseason. Now he's hurt. He's going to miss about a month to start the season, but he'll probably be a regular contributor by the postseason. I still am concerned for Nikola's chances based on the Thunder because they have two really big, elite, dynamic defensive guys that they could throw at Jokic, and just from a perimeter standpoint, they're beasts defensively. But when you have a guy that is by far the best player on earth and maybe one of the 8 to 10 best players that's ever lived, you're always going to have a shot.
Prime SGA or Prime Penny Hardaway? Peak for peak.
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, from what I've seen to this point, I would say Penny probably, but SGA. I do love SGA. I love what he's doing right now. But I'd say right from what I've seen right now, I'd lean slightly towards Penny. But we only saw about 2 years of really prime Penny before it went downhill due to injury. So who knows? Like Shea might still be ascending a bit because he's another one of these young guys. He's only like 25, 26.
Yeah. Penny was ridiculous. Like he had the Magic Johnson passing, and then he had the small forward stuff like Grant Hill, and then he could get in the mid range like SGA. And he could make a three. Like he was really a complete player and a crazy athlete on top of all that. In his
Agreed.
peak.
And people forget the 2 years when Jordan retired in like 93, and then he was gone for a full year, and then Jordan came back for like 17 games left in like 95. Those 2 seasons where Jordan wasn't, in the field in terms of being able to be a first team or a second team. Penny was first team All NBA at the both of those seasons, and he was like 22 years old. So he was still not even close to the finished product he could have become if he didn't get hurt.
Who's your Mount Rushmore of basketball?
So if we're going 4, which Mount Rushmore's 4, I go with Jordan. As you know, we appeared on a show recently together. Kobe, I'm very high on Kobe. And then I've got
Kobe. Do people bother you about the way you say it? Does it bother Kobe?
That, you know what? It's kind of specific. I'm from Pittsburgh originally, and that the way I say that, people pick up on that. My wife mocks me all the time with the way I say O's. So yeah, it comes out a little bit when I say.
I want you to restate that Mount Rushmore, but this is how I would. This is you. I know the stats more than you. That's like your personality. That's you, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Go ahead. Your Mount Rushmore of basketball.
My Mount Rushmore is Jordan, Kobe, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Tim Duncan, which I get a lot of pushback on both Kobe and Duncan, but I've got both of them in my top 4.
Where would LeBron rank?
I can see a case for LeBron. On my personal list, I have LeBron right around 10, actually, at this point in my life. I could see a case for LeBron as high as 4 or 5. I don't make it personally, but I can accept LeBron as high as 4 or 5. Quite frankly, I don't see the people that have him at 1 or 2. It's outrageous to me. Like I personally just don't understand the case. I think because ultimately the stats are there, the longevity is there, the media bestowed accolades are there. Agreed. But like I look at a guy like Karl Malone, who has 14 All NBA selections, is like 4th or 5th most all time. He has 2 league MVPs. He's 3rd all time in scoring still. His numbers across the board are better than Tim Duncan's. Karl Malone is generally nowhere near anyone's top 15. He might squeeze in around like 19 or 20 all time because he didn't win. Now, of course, LeBron did win his 4 rings, but I look at the way he had to go about winning those 4 rings. Like, what if Karl Malone just jumped teams every 3 years to 2 perennial all-stars or top 10 to 12 players league wide for 15 years. Well, Karl Malone would probably have 3 or 4 rings throughout the course of his career, but he didn't do it. He stayed with Utah till he was 40. LeBron has done it. And look, he's got the 4 rings, but when I look at the way these other guys, these other like dynastic winners that are generally in the top 10 won their rings, I just have more respect for the way they actually contributed to winning, unlike LeBron.
You're naming some of the greatest power forwards to ever live, but I would say LeBron has that power forward type energy in him, but then he has the Magic Johnson effect too, making everybody around him better. Doesn't he get some extra credit for that?
There's no doubt that like I said, the resume looks tremendous for LeBron. But when I break down, and it is a nuanced conversation. I know people don't want to have it or don't want to hear all my numbers and like perspective and context, but
I want to hear it. Combo wants to hear it.
Oh, I mean, well, when you look, he failed for 7 years in Cleveland. Now you could say he didn't have enough people around him to succeed, but I've seen guys that didn't have enough people around them that stayed and that have succeeded. At least, winning one, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, for example, like Nikola Jokic, for example, like Akeem Olajuwon, for example, guys that got a shitty deal, like LeBron, you could say got a shitty deal in Cleveland, but those guys stayed and they won, so I respect those guys more than LeBron. Instead, he had he was back-to-back league MVP. He had the best record in the NBA back-to-back years. He lost prematurely in both of those playoffs, and if you want to leave, God bless, you've done 7 years, you put your time in, you played your heart out, you didn't get it done, but the way he left, where he left, Dwayne Wade was a top 3 player on planet Earth the year LeBron went to his team and chose to bring on Chris Bosh, who was, I say top 15, but we could split hairs and say top 20. So you bring a top 20 player as your third option. You surround other elite role players. You yourself, as LeBron James, committed to 8 championships. And then he lost half of the time that he was there. And then he crawled his ass out of town and built another elite juggernaut team that was ready to win right then and right there. He wins 1 in 4 years there, and it was only, in my estimation, because of injuries and suspensions and stuff that beset the Golden State Warriors in that 2016 finals. So he then goes to LA and joins Anthony Davis, and the one and only title they win in LA that season in 2020, Anthony Davis was first team All-NBA, first team All-NBA defense. He finished 6th in league MVP and 2nd in defensive player of the year that year. He led the playoffs in scoring and in win shares that season. Those are LeBron's 4 rings. I'm sorry, for a guy that's supposed to be the best or second best player of all time, who has maximized his opportunities to win by jumping every 4 years throughout his prime and stacking his rosters, to only have 4 in now 23 years now and counting. And now he's playing with Luka, who's another top 3 player. So I think he actually has underachieved substantially. I think if you put Kobe in the situations that LeBron had with the supporting cast that LeBron has had and the opponents that he has faced, I think Kobe would have had 6 or 7 rings, which is why I think so much more highly of Kobe than I do of LeBron.
Chris Bosh, top 20. Where would you put like Dirk and KD then?
No. I'm sorry. At the time.
I was about to say
that year, not all time. No way.
Okay.
No, but I'm just saying the year that they poached Chris Bosh from the Raptors, the year before, he was
very good. He was excellent. He was
like I said, I was spouting numbers when we appeared on that show. He was 20th in value over replacement that year, 18th in box plus minus, 4th in player efficiency rating, and he averaged 24 and 11 that season and was an all-star. That became their third option on the Miami Heat. That's a stacked team in an absolutely preposterously weak conference. So of course you're going to go to all those of course they went to 4 straight championships, but they only won 2 of the 4. And look, they were humiliated in the 2 that they lost. They were a substantial favorite against the Mavericks. They lost 3. They were up 2-1 in that series. They were up 13 in the 4th quarter in game 4 to take a 3-1 lead. They choked that game away. And in that game that they choked away, LeBron had 8 points in 46 minutes of play in that game. They lost all the games after that. So they lost 3 straight games to end that series. Then in the Spurs, the final series that he played as Miami Heat, in the Spurs series in 2015, 2016, whichever year it was, they lost 4-1, so it's a gentleman's sweep. But even with Miami winning a game in that series, it still was the biggest margin of defeat in NBA Finals history by one team over another. So he got humiliated. Not only did they not win all 4 of those championships, they got humiliated in the 2 that they lost.
All right, I want to end with this. I know you're a Kobe guy. Fact or fiction, Larry Bird's prime was higher than Kobe's prime?
This is a difficult question to answer because prime-wise,
I only ask the good questions, Skap. You know that.
It's
right?
so hard because I think, to me, Jordan, Hakeem, Kobe, and Bird had the 4 highest the 4 highest peaks in league history. So it's difficult. It's like when people think that I'm hating on Tim Duncan when I put Kobe above him. Okay, yes, I have Kobe at 2, but I have Duncan at 4 all time. So it's not like I'm disrespecting either. Like, I think the world of Larry Bird as well. Like, I think his prime is so high, but I think I'd probably
he got more MVPs in 3 years than Kobe has over a 20-year career.
I mean, Bird won, I think he finished whatever. He finished top 2 in MVP like 8 straight years or something like that.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It would be, look, it would be hard. Like I said, I'm splitting hairs here. I might put maybe Bird one. I might have Bird as like the 3rd highest peak and Kobe is the 4th highest peak, something like that. Or maybe I would transpose those 2, but it's very close. But I would, I'm a very argumentative guy. I wouldn't fight you on Larry Bird being above Kobe. Let's just say
we couldn't even end on a debate. Skap, thanks so much for taking the time. You're always welcome back. Do you have a photogenic memory?
I do not. With sports and movies, it seems like I do, but in anything else, I don't. But like, yes, I do have total recall and good retention on, especially like sports and movie things. Yeah.
So was this just what's your background in sports media? Was this just like over like career equity, like over the years, just being in the weeds of all this information about Kobe? Like,
it's not just Kobe. It's like anything. Like I could do the same. I could talk other players similarly, and back up with similar stats and stuff.
Yeah.
In basically the NBA and NFL, I'm big on the NFL and football too. I actually probably know more about the NFL than the NBA, believe it or not. It's just my channel and like what I'm known for became the NBA. But yeah, I was in the sports media when I was really young. I mean, we're about the same age. I was born in 83.
Yeah, same age. How'd you know that? You know my stats too? What's going on? Anyway, go ahead. You're aging me here on my own show. Go ahead.
but yes, I basically was in the meet. Like, I went to Penn State and I covered Penn State football and basketball when I was like freshly out of college. After that, I just, man, life came along. I went down a number of different career paths. I hated every job I ever worked, basically. So 2 years ago, I was approaching that magic number that you know about since we're the similar age.
Crazy, right? It's crazy to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, look, if I don't try to do something or just work towards something that I want to do or love doing now, then it's never going to happen. So, I started a YouTube channel like 2 years ago-ish, and I've just been kind of growing from that and building off of that and kind of making a footprint in this little thing that we're doing.
Most definitely are. Subscribe to Skap Attack on YouTube. Thanks so much, Skap. You're always welcome back, and talk soon, man.
Sounds good, brother. My pleasure.